I've been asked to go out and repair a crack in a wood furnace, and so I've loaded up our area's tiniest little welding rig to go fix it. Honesty time, and I told the customer this, I don't have a lot of experience with welding on these things, especially the way it's cracked. It hasn't cracked per se, it's like the toe of the weld is separated against the piece of plate that is the little frame around the opening. And I'm going out on site, and I don't have one of those fancy rod warmers. You know, sometimes when you're out and you need 7018 rod that's been baked because it's a low hydrogen electrode, you keep it in a rod oven to keep the water out of it. You've got this little container, and the fancy ones are actually like electric. They can heat them up and keep all of the moisture out of them. Otherwise, it's basically just a little humidor for your welding rod, so the welding rod stays dry, and I don't have one of those. I don't go out on site very often, so I'm manufacturing one of my own. I'm on really limited time, but I did find a rusty old lockbox in the shop, and so I brushed it up and I painted it up just so it wasn't so dirty looking. Run into the thrift store to find some padding for the inside of it because all my rags are really dirty, and the next best thing in a pinch is something that has been laundered. I was so close to getting this for my welding rod humidor. Don't come at me, I said this wasn't awesome and that I'm in a pinch, right? Oh yeah. Corners on outdoor boilers are classic stress concentrators because you've got constant thermal cycling, like the cold water jacket and a really hot firebox. And then also if this thing goes out and it gets really cold, you throw wood in there and you get it up and running again. And you've got differential expansion rates between the plate and the frame. We talked about that with the exploding pan video. If this and this at all have a different expansion rate, and you don't want it to when you're designing these things, but sometimes you can't help it. There's also just a little bit of water pressure behind it and all of this corrosion from the ash from the firebox side and possibly creosote acid exposure. And that corner is a weak spot mechanically anyway because the frame stiffens one axis, but not the other. All expansion forces kind of have nowhere to go except the corners. And if you're hossing logs in here and you're banging down on this and pulling down on it along with the door, like, you know, it's not too surprising that the weld would have pulled away from this piece. It's fatigue cracking, like in a bracket, like a rigid bracket. It's an example of how cracks initiate at the toll of a weld in a constrained joint. Like all of this buttoned in together. Nowhere for it to go. Because the original weld itself looks really nice, like nothing really wrong with it, there's probably a micro separation between the weld and the parent metal from repeated stress. It could even be the haze, the heat affected zone cracking in the plate right at the toe. If it were just cracking or pitting due to corrosion, I think we'd see more like pitting and thinning of the material. I think the best I can do right now is to identify the weakness and then dig it out as best I can into an opening that facilitates a good fusion of the new weld, and then peen it a little bit between passes just for fun and try to get the stress out, and then performing the new weld as cleanly as possible with few areas of possible stress concentrations for this to happen again, as it's always moving and having stress and bang bangs on it. So few as possible areas of stress concentration, including over reinforcing this. I think that might be a problem because a big stiff weld crown on this, I think, could be constrictive and maybe give more re-crack potential. Putting stress in other places, the other ones might start cracking. Maybe not because this is the door side. Pressure stress is on the door because that's where the hinge side is, and the forces are a little stronger on this end than they are on that end. It's a flame out. Yeah, no, you know what? I might hit pause. I think little globs from up above are falling in. Oh yeah, okay. Could not tell where that crack was. I just kind of touched it with my cutting wheel trying to find a leak, and I think I confirmed it's underneath the weld. So I'm probably just gonna patch it and hope for the best. Still warm. This starting material is so warm that went in really nicely. It's a funny angle. Think we're okay? I'm sending this to my inspector. I put just a little more on. Oh, done. What a fun learning process. I smell like an old bag of Lebanon bologna.